Action, please.
Welcome back to Box Clever TV. It's Hal here with the company of Jekyll and Hyde. How you doing? Good. Great. We're coming to the end of this part of our rehearsal period, and we're going to be going to tech early next week. So we're starting to integrate some of the different design elements on top of our performance. So we've got costume, and then the design itself, so the set, and of course the lighting, which is getting layered in. So it'd be interesting to talk to you guys about how that stuff kind of changes, alters, or helps your performance. So let's start with costume. Jacob, talk to us about the costume in this play, and also like how does it affect your performance?
Yeah, so it's a very exciting costume. We've only just started to get it. Maybe yesterday it came in, about that time. And costumes, of course, really important for the audience to be able to differentiate between characters and things like that, and it brings you into the world. But it's also really important for the actors because it makes you feel so much more part of the character. It changes the way you walk and the way you move and even the way you talk. Especially, I feel shoes are really important with that sort of thing. And it's really exciting having costume because I've done a lot of productions, especially with some productions which have a lower budget where you're just in sort of very casual costume or maybe just in blacks. That's especially coming from drama school, that's quite a classic sort of, yeah, we'll just do it in blacks. But having an actual costume is really exciting. The costume that we're using, we use a whole range of quite extravagant, brightly coloured costume. Me and Coco in particular. Coco's in pink, bright pink.
What kind of costumes are there?
Yeah, so, well, we're dressed as English gentlemen, so we've got a nice long frock coat, a waistcoat, we've got neckties, we've got top hats, and it just adds to this whole world that we're creating. And Jekyll, of course, is an English gentleman as well, so he's wearing very similar things, but he's not as brightly lit as us. As in bright, the colours aren't as bright, but I think the bright colours help set the tone of how jovial it is at the start, and that we're part of this sort of musical world, and it's very exciting before we go into the dark, sinister world of Jekyll and Hyde.
Yeah, I like the colours. They're surprising, aren't they, in the sense that the bright pink, the bright yellow, they're not necessarily what you traditionally expect from a production of Jekyll and Hyde, which is probably a bit gloomier and more macabre, but here we are in these kind of crazy colours. You talked about how costumes make you feel differently. So what was it like when you donned the famous yellow suit? How does it affect the way you move through the space and stand and what you use your voice?
Well, because it's clothing it's not clothing I wear every day. I don't walk around in a frock coat or waistcoat or things like that. That's not my style, some people do. But it makes you feel much more like that English gentleman. It makes you feel a lot more upright and walk with more purpose and things like that. It really adds to the character. I feel like the play really starts to come alive once the actors start getting into costume. Because you realise, oh, this isn't a rehearsal. Well, it's still a rehearsal, but this is like a thing that we're putting on. This is a full-on play. Costume is a massive element to that.
Great. And then alongside the costume, we've got the set. So in this set, we've got, why don't you tell us about the set in our production of Jekyll and Hyde, Coco, and also what's it like working with it?
Sure. So in this set, we have 4 blocks, which kind of look like like sections of steps. And then we have 4 door frames, but they can also be like window frames, but they're the large rectangular kind of panels. So that's what the set looks like itself. And usually when you do a play, you don't get the chance to be with the set at the very beginning. You're normally just maybe in a rehearsal room and it's just completely bland. But we've been able to have the set from the very beginning, and it's made a massive difference. There is so much movement in this play, which is great. And the set really is used to kind of shift, make different rooms. We have like a lab area, we have the outside. So it's all about using imagination, because of course we don't actually have a lab or a table, but we can kind of create that with these items also. I feel like the set really helps set the pace. It's a little bit like the costumes. If you don't have it, then where are you really? But by using it, we can kind of build up the 1800s. We can use it to make our movements a lot more interesting, so we don't just walk from here to here. We can walk over steps, we can jump through doors, and we can really recreate some of the thriller and excitement from the play.
Yeah, it helps create like the fluidity as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
And I think you guys are manipulating the set so well. You know, we don't just sort of pick up the door frames and plonk them somewhere. They've got their own, every single moment's got its own like flavour.
Yeah, I think when we're moving the set, it's not just, I'm going to move this door frame from here to here. Everything has to have a purpose. I think when you're on stage, everything has to have a reason. You can't just move a table for no reason. So I think it really helps us to to build, you know, the picture that's going on.
Yeah, I kind of call you guys like the theatre ninjas. So, you know, they move. They should be professional movers, really. You can hire them to move stuff from your house, but in like awesome ways with breath and sound effects on it. Trying to make sure we move this sofa. Anyway, whatever. Let's talk about lighting. You know, you rehearse in a room where it's just the normal lighting, and then suddenly, bam, you're hit with up lights and moving lights and lights coming from everywhere. What's that like when you suddenly step out into a technical rehearsal when there's all these lights on you? How does that change things?
It's another step closer to the show. It's another added element that brings everything to life. Like Jacob was saying, the first time you put your character shoes on, the first time you step on what will be the confirmed set, and then the first time the light hits you in the face. I mean, light has so many purposes. I mean, so Pip will be operating and helping us kind of create and exacerbate themes using different colours and different shades and different intensities. What we can do is we can kind of manipulate the audience, manipulate you guys, tell you where to look, try and pull focus so that other things can take you by surprise. Okay, the light's over here, you're looking here, and then all of a sudden someone else is in a spot, a new character is introduced, or a new shocking revelation or something. We also, for the type of piece that it is, kind of the Victorian thriller, we can create big shadows. We have this glorious full moon behind us there, in which you can kind of see the creeping men walking around London, and you're seeing an image that could be anybody before you see a person's face. So loads of different uses. Yeah,
this is a neat little set. So we've got a setup here. We've got a couple of bars, lighting bars at the side, sort of in front of our stage, and then they do a lot of different face lights. Then we've got a couple of moving up lights, which are really cool, that our technical director Pip is programming to do lots of gothic effects of uplight shadows, but coming onto this brilliant moon. So yeah, it's quite a clever, compact piece of kit, really, isn't it? Sort of. But when you go into like big indoor theatres and stuff, you can get anywhere between 50 and 1,000 lights, and there's all sorts of things you can do. So lighting is more and more today is like central to what a lot of artists are trying to do, because it can look amazing, especially if you get a bit of haze and smoke. You can make things look so theatrical. So yeah, I love it. We're about to go into tech, of course. Like on Monday, we're going to start putting all these elements together. I like tech. It's one of my favourite times because the director gets to kind of put all these things that were in their head all together in one space. What do you guys think of tech? Are you a fan? Do you find it a bit frustrating or intense? Or what do you think? Okay, go.
I love tech. I think tech is when the piece starts to really come together. All the lights, all the costumes. It's like the pre-show, you know? It's like a show for the director before the main thing. I love it. You get to tune in all the songs. It's great. It's a great time. A bit stressful. Can be a bit stressful, but nonetheless, it's a good way of seeing what the final show looks like. So fingers crossed.
Yeah, there's also times where you get to like bed in your costume changes, which you're talking about in rehearsals. That'll be easy, and then you realise you've got to turn from one character to another in like 1 minute. And we don't have any dresses on this show. In fact, we kind of show all the changes of costume in this. What's it like being your own costume assistants? Like dressers. How do you find all the frantic putting on and off costume in this play?
Yeah, it's got to be part of the game, part of the play. If we're going to show them the inner workings of the machine, let's show the audience that in a way that is exciting and interesting, and potentially quite frantic. And hang on, that person was in this outfit and is now in this.
We have a day of tech on Monday. In a typical professional production, you'll have anywhere between like a day of tech. I think the average is probably about 3 days, and then it can be anything up to a week. It's the longest tech I've ever directed, but I know at the National Theatre they can go up to over 2 weeks in the West End as well, sometimes even a month. Depends how technical your show is, all the other elements of hydraulics and special effects and projections. Our show's a bit simpler than that, but there's some really cool elements. We do everything with our own imagination here. So we hope you enjoy seeing the technical elements come into play when we see you on tour. Thank you very much.